Looks like we got a new action movie that people will debate whether it's a Christmas movie or not. Hello and welcome to Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below, have you seen Carry On? Is it good? Is it bad? Or somewhere right in the middle? Let me know all your thoughts. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already to join a film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. And going right into the synopsis. An airport security officer races to outsmart a mysterious traveler that's forcing him to slip a dangerous package on a Christmas Eve flight. Taking it right into the positive, this is a Netflix film that really works to the own nature of being an action thriller. Coming from Jean Collet-Serra, he's done other action pieces in the past, Non-Stop, Commuter, and other things that included Liam Neeson or didn't. In just the way we go about this, it's some of his typical work, but that doesn't go about a negative implication on the film because it's still well directed as an action film and has this right thrills that it goes about doing. It has this one-shot motion scene that makes it look so well edited, and the nature of how it flows about that. Those always become compelling, where it seems to flow on with the motion of the action that's going on with this car scene that's held hostage, everything that's going about within that, and just the nature of how that's built up, and just everything that's organized within. It's well edited, certain pieces of information, the detective side of the story, as well as the airport security officer side of the story, is organized quite well and provides the essential information for you to be able to follow all what's going on along. And there's a sense of mystery going on at the beginning, especially before they reveal who the mysterious traveler is, who's holding Taron Edgerton as the security officer hostage. And with what we get out of the roles are fantastic. Jaspn Bateman as the villain, he has a great voice for what we get out of that, especially as when he is the mystery guy, when we don't know who he is. And then Taron Edgerton is great within his running skills, with everything that's going about within his expressions, his actions, everything that flows on it throughout that, and just his chemistry throughout with his girlfriend as well. It just makes sense to the nature of how the story is flowing, giving us a sense of threat that's going on within the story, giving some stakes to the action, and having these other friends that go about along the way, paying in and taking a toll on what's all going on, as he himself has to submit to everything the mysterious threat is holding against him. And so how that all builds about, different reveals work naturally to what they build up to. And so there's different things here and there where it utilizes the space and the scope of the film in a fantastic way, where it can be not necessarily claustrophobic, but in one sense close scaled, and then in other scenes wide open, which really expands the limitations to what is going on within this film. The action pieces, everything that's going on about changing different locations, never keeping it all the same thing, even though it can have relatively the same tone, the same thrills throughout. It builds upon different things, creates different situations, that creates somewhat awkward situations or other things that make sense when no one else knows about the situation at hand, but that also builds upon the threat that much more in a greater fashion. Taking it into mixed elements, this is one of those films where you may have to suspend your disbelief here and there, believing things that happen for specific reasons. You're not necessarily knowing the master plan behind how they snuck all these things into place, how the villains got into play with this in the first place. And so there are certain things that don't always make 100% sense, or the survivability of certain actions that come about along the way. That's sort of plot protection to the main protagonist. Everything's going on with Taron Edgerton as the security officer. How that flows about can be a little bit iffy, but to the nature of that. But once you are familiar with that sort of thing, I'm letting you know by the style of it that it's fine to be just watching it. It doesn't feel like it goes way too outlandish. It doesn't feel way too realistic. And so it's sort of right in the middle where it's that nice action thriller piece that's enjoyable for the nature of what it was, which is why I'm putting it in the mix. It could be a hit or miss depending on what sort of believability you are wanting to watch when going into this film. It's not fully flavorful with different sets, pieces, or other things that coming about along the way. Jean Collet-Serra is great with these pieces, so it's just really depending on if you're a huge action film fan or if something isn't right in the fitting of the nature of how that's flowing about. There's other things with the girlfriend or other things that might not fully click as well for you. Certain things with the chemistry might feel a little bit too generic in some sense of imagination, but there's not necessarily too many problems here and there on what may be working for the film as a whole. In one retrospect, I kind of feel like they revealed who the mysterious guy is a little bit too early on in the film. I get what they're doing with it, and once he is revealed, I'm fine with what they're doing with those scenes. But in one idea, I sort of felt like I like the eminence of a mysterious figure a lot better than compared to when he was revealed. I understand they don't need to wait till the end to fully reveal him. There's hands-on action where you put them in close encounter, but I felt in one sense it's a little bit too early once they start to reveal, because the mystery aspect does build up a lot upon the suspense, the anticipation on what's all going on with things that come about along the way, which takes me right into the negatives, to which there's some aspects of the film that just don't necessarily fully work to the nature of what I may expect out of this film, which coincides with the detective mystery side of the film, which later on to the film, that becomes a little bit more essential, including that character and being able to build upon her plot of the story makes sense to be put in the beginning of the film. You don't want her to be a character just randomly thrown in, becoming part of the story halfway through, because she becomes essential, and you need to know a little bit about her character, even though you don't know a lot about her background, a lot about her stakes into what's all going on from the beginning, but you need to see that involvement throughout, and so that is a good part of the story. I don't know what they could have really done differently, but at the same time, the part where they include that part, her introduction, the exposition, everything that's going about, can be a little bit of an interruption to the flow of everything that's starting on with the airport security officer side of things, everything we're following among Taron Edgerton, his plot of the story. And so that part with the exposition, certain things where the detective is still trying to figure things out with all going on before the actual threat is revealed, ultimately can be just not particularly as interesting, especially when you're building upon something that you're already knowing that Taron Edgerton is part of the main plot to lead things forward. There's this element of suspense in knowing what his part of the plot is. Well, unfortunately, the detective part of the work is thrown in there as an essential part, but not always particularly as interesting. So that's just my personal review for Carry On, which I have to rate as simply 7 out of 10. Let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on Carry On. Is it good? Is it bad? Or somewhere right in the middle? And is it Christmas film? I personally think it is, but let me know all your thoughts. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already to join the film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, and make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.